to decorating for fall, it's not about piling pumpkins everywhere and splashing orange all over your home. It's about creating a space that feels cozy, intentional, and inviting. But knowing where to start or even what looks good together can sometimes be very overwhelming. Hi, my name is Bree and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to share with you my tips on how to decorate for fall. That way you can decorate with confidence and style. And because I love saving money, I want to share with you a few of my fall DIY projects that I did that I'm super pleased with, and I think you'll be too. So let's get started. If you've watched my decorating videos before, you already know that my favorite way to kick off a new season is by heading to the stores for inspiration. I love how every new season brings a fresh twist on a classic holiday vibes. Designers always amaze me with the new ways they reimagine colors and textures and themes. I noticed so many beautiful soft sages, plums, warm ambers, cozy plaids, touches of brass, and those gorgeous natural moody accents. What really stopped me in my tracks was this stunning red leaf maple tree. It's such a bold statement piece and I could totally picture it in my living room. The only problem is the price tag, which was not so amazing. But after taking a closer look, I realized it's actually something I could probably recreate myself. And I have olive trees at home and I was taking a good look at those, and a lot of them are just snapped together or drilled right into the trunk. So I took that inspiration out into the woods and I found a perfect little oak tree to use as my base. I trimmed off all the little branches, shaping it until I liked the way it looked. I didn't want it to be too tall, so then I ended up taking it down even more. I love this little battery-powered chainsaw. It comes in so handy sometimes. Before committing, I brought it inside to just make sure I liked the way it looked in the spot, and I felt like it was a perfect size. When I was at Hobby Lobby earlier, they had all their florals 40% off, so I stocked up and I found these gorgeous dark red maple leaves with really long stems. I clipped them on just to get a feel for it, and then I went ahead and picked up some concrete to set the tree. Now I had to figure out how I was going to keep it straight while it dried, but I had an idea. I made a cardboard form that fit snugly inside the pot, and it worked like a charm. My husband offered to help me carry the 80-pound bag of concrete, even though I already hauled it from the store myself, but then he accidentally dropped it and spilled it all over the grass. And then when he was supposed to turn the hose on, he turned it off instead. So I told him he was fired. He gets fired a lot, but somehow he just keeps showing up. Since my pot has a hole in the bottom, I kept the bag around it so the mix wouldn't get too watery, and I'm happy to report the cardboard trick worked really well. It ended up with a nice straight tree. Adding branches honestly felt like working on an art project. My first idea was to attach them right to the end of the limbs, so I cut one down, stripped it down to the wire, then using a drill bit about the same size as that wire, I drilled it into the very end of the branch. It worked, but I felt like it just looked a little bit too artificial for me, so instead I tried to drill on the side instead, and then when I did that it actually slipped and then I broke my drill bit, so I learned a lesson there. The second try went much smoother. I went ahead and tried to drill exactly where it looks like branches would come out naturally, and that just looked so much better. The whole process was just kind of playing around and taking out branches I don't need and then clipping them on before I put them on permanently. This really helped me visualize where I needed it to kind of fill in the gaps. Then I also fluffed as I went, trying to bend the branches to make them look as natural as possible. And then I even tried to make it a little more three-dimensional, adding ones kind of jutting out a little bit too. And then after a final fluff, I was ready to put in the base. So I filled it in with some paper and then some peat moss. My basket had a broken handle, so this is perfect. I can kind of just hide and you won't even know. For my second project, I wanted to make a pumpkin pillow. On Pottery Barn's website, I saw some Sherpa ones as well as some fur-lined ones too that were really soft and pretty, but they definitely were not cheap. So I wanted to go thrifting to see if I could find the perfect solution, and I did. A giant polar bear hoodie at Goodwill, tons of fabric, super soft, Sherpa lined on the inside, and it was only a few dollars. Honestly, I could probably make 4 pillows out of all this fabric. In addition to that, you're also going to need some matching embroidery floss, some wire, twine or yarn for the stem, and a lot of polyfill. Before I decapitated my Snuggie, I thought I'd give you a quick polar bear dance break that nobody asked for. You're welcome. After slicing off the hood, I cut down the sides to get as much fabric as possible. The Pottery Barn pillows were 14 inches, but I think I can make mine 15. The only problem is the fur sheds so much, so I think I'm just going to use the Sherpa side. I need to cut a circle, so I folded the fabric to find the center, pinned it, and then measured it. So the shortest side was 32 inches, so I just divided that in half, which is 16. Then I cut a piece of twine 16 inches, and then I just kind of held it next to a marker, and I used that to just kind of measure all the way around and draw my circle. So a quick math tip, you want to make this pillow by subtracting 1 inch from the half measurement, and that will be your finished final size of your pillow. So for example, half was 16 for me, so now my pillow will be 15 inches long. Sewing was super simple. You just use all 6 strands of floss. I tied a knot, looped it through the needle, just that way it wouldn't pull through. And then I did a running stitch all the way around. You just take your needle and you weave it in and out, and it's just super simple. What's great then is when you tighten it up, it gathers all the fabric naturally and it makes it really easy. This part of the project went really fast. It really only took me about 15 minutes to sew all the way around the pillow and then to gather it up. Once I was done stitching, I pulled it tight just to kind of see how it would look before I put the filling in. Next, add the stuffing. I like mine flat more than round, and you can also use like old pillows and things like that. I had a bunch of old pillows, but I actually used them to stuff the turtle shells for my kids' Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle costumes from last Halloween. This year they decided to dress up as the cast from Princess Bride, and I am super excited about that. Okay, full disclosure here, I was totally judging other people's DIY pumpkins online when I was doing my research. I thought, seriously, how hard could it be to make them even? Turns out, it's a lot harder than I expected, but you know it's okay because real pumpkins aren't perfect either. Now you're done with the end, you can just stitch it up really tight. Just go ahead and make it as tight as you can, but you don't have to worry about it too much because it's actually the bottom of the pillow. Turn it around and make sure and try to get it as circular as you can. So the way you're going to do the sections of the pillow is you're going to get two pieces of thread together that was nice and strong. You're going to want to go ahead and wrap it around and then find the center of the front of your pillow, and that's going to be the center part where the stem is too. Shove it all the way through and then pull it tight. After I finished my first section, I showed it to the kids, who took one look and said the exact same thing that I was thinking. I prefer to have a pumpkin pillow, so I went ahead and kept going. So what you want to do is have 8 even sections, so just keep doing that process until you could divide it into half and then half again until you have 8 even spaces. My daughter distracted me, and then I accidentally shoved the needle up my nail and made a mess on my pillow. Thankfully it was the bottom side, but I just kind of cut it away. I had an extremely long thread, but I still ran out, so I went ahead and tied it off and then put another one on to finish it up. For the stem, I debated between twine or yarn. Pottery Barn's version used twine, but I like the softer look of the yarn. And I wanted to make it bendable too, so I used the wire and then I wrapped it into paper. That way it kind of just bulked it up a little bit. And then once I had it all wrapped up, I kind of taped it down just kind of temporarily. The wire will make it nice and bendable and more realistic. I cut a few pieces to wrap the end and I hurt myself again. Apparently crafting is very dangerous for me. I wrapped them on the end and then taped them up, that way I could just glue them down, and I glued it really well, that way it won't unravel. I put a lot of glue on the end too, just to keep everything from fraying, and then I went ahead and bent it the way I wanted it to sit on the pumpkin. And then I covered the end of it with a ton of glue all the way around the bottom and the sides, that way it'll stay nice and won't move at all. And here's the final result, a cozy little pillow made from a polar bear. Now I want to share with you my very last project. I found this vintage landscape canvas at Goodwill for just $13. It's an old 1800s painting. It's so moody and dramatic, and honestly it feels just like fall. The only thing it was missing was a frame. I've actually been lucky in the past where I've thrifted canvases and then found frames separately, and then I was able to put them together and then use offset clips to keep them in place. But this time I couldn't find the right size, so I just decided to make my own frame. So I grabbed some 1x3 boards, and of course I had to swing by the clearance plant section while I was there. So for reference, I'm going to be making this style of frame, which is a floating frame. First, you want to measure your canvas and add 1 3/4 to each side to get your measurements. You're going to do all your cuts at a 45-degree angle, and make sure you always measure from your longest tip. I like to mark my angles with a triangle square, that way I don't get it mixed up, speaking from experience here. And then for the corner brackets, just cut them flat at 45-degree angles. To put it all together, I used this really handy corner bracket kit. I glued it and then put it together. It's great if you don't have a second set of hands. Then I went ahead and used a brad nailer and made sure it was solid. Then for the corner pieces, you just want to go ahead and do the same thing. Then I took off the brackets and I test fitted the canvas, and it slid in perfectly. I was pleasantly surprised. Now in hindsight, I should have sanded the whole thing before I put it together, and definitely don't build on asphalt like I did, because when I flipped it over, the wood was all scratched. So you want to make it nice and smooth and then fill all the nail holes with sustainable wood filler. I of course did the nail holes, but then also the seams and anything that was kind of sticking out or nicked. It's just a nice way to smooth the whole project. Finding a good stain color was a struggle. I tested on a few pieces, and pine never takes stain evenly, so the colors came out all patchy. Even using my paint thinner trick, using it as a conditioner didn't really help. It didn't really absorb it very well. So the next time I think I'll try a proper mini wax conditioner like the can recommends, but the black stain ended up working best, so I just went with that and I actually love it. I feel like it feels modern and matches the dark tones of the painting perfectly. Parent hack, there's always spare socks lying around, so I collect them and then they're perfect for putting on stain. After 2 coats of stain, then I finished with a matte varnish. Then I screwed the frame down into the canvas stretchers in the back of the canvas and it worked out perfect. Now the DIYs are all done, let's put it all together. I actually have a full video on how to decorate fireplaces and I'll link that above, but here's a quick recap. You always want to start with a focal point, in this case the painting, and then you want to build around it with larger supporting pieces, add foliage for more texture, and then you want to keep things asymmetrical, that way it'll look more natural, and you also want to stick to a color scheme. I went with moody dark reds and sage greens. Also, don't forget about the hearth. I have a basket with blankets and library books to encourage reading by the fire. And I love how my little pumpkin looks in the armchair. It just ties everything together. And I picked up a few new finds at our local Target outlet, like this decorative brass bowl layered with books. Outlet and bin stores are a great way to get discounted items that are still actually even sold in stores, and they're 50 to 90% off. The coffee table and washable rug are also new and they're from Amazon. I'll link everything I can down below, but here's the finished look with my new fall tree. If you're enjoying this, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe for future projects so you don't miss out. Thanks so much for your support. This plaid throw from Target brings just the right touch of green. I like to drape blankets over top of the sofa just to break up all that dark furniture, and adding a variety of pillows for texture and warmth. Since our coffee table gets constant use, I always style everything on a movable tray and then I can just slide it underneath on game night. I love the vintage touches with the oil can and the books and the natural element of this deer antler that I found on my dad's property. When decorating, think about creating vignettes, little styled groupings that tell a story or create a focal point. And don't forget about lighting too. Ambient lights instantly make a room feel cozy and inviting. I avoid harsh overhead lights whenever possible. I use little lamps and candles and picture lights instead. And remember, odd numbers always look better together when grouping items. On my corner shelf, I repeated the same color scheme to tie everything together. This upholstered bench I made last year looks especially good in plaid in the fall. And quick tip, use your TV screen as digital art. YouTube has lots of free art channels and it makes it feel so cozy and seasonal without spending a thing. Moving on to the kitchen, for my coffee bar I added some pampas grass and a teapot and a few pumpkins and a dough bowl, and then with my favorite mugs that I love to bring in the fall that I scored from a thrift store years ago. And to add a soft glow in the corner, I added a little lamp and a picture. My fall tone painting really pops this time of year, and these rechargeable picture lights elevate my artwork so much, especially in the hallway. Our second fireplace, I added a new battery-powered fall garland from Amazon, but the orange was just a little bit too bright for me, so I just removed them. I love how you can always add or subtract layers to customize the look of wreaths and garlands. This room has a more traditional feel, so I went with lighter, natural fall tones. The mirror serves as my focal point, flanked by a vase and candlesticks. Then I added a few Hobby Lobby pumpkins I grabbed on sale, and even this little raven, which is really whimsical, and the kids love it so much. For our dining room table, I created another movable centerpiece since it gets a lot of use. For fall and winter dinners, we always add candles, which makes it feel so special and encourages everyone to linger just a little bit longer after dinner. I found a fall pick loaded with tons of leaves and pine cones, and it was so beautiful. I wanted to add them all around the candlestick, so I used a knife to kind of separate the big bunch, and they pull apart individually. And then I took each little piece and I cut the wires down so it'll fit, and try to tuck it and make it look nice and natural in between each of the candlesticks. Caring for your home really comes down to the details. We had an accident which damaged the table a little bit, but with a wax repair crayon, it worked wonders and it filled it in. It's great with permanent markers. You can use that on black furniture too, and you can just touch up the spots and make them look like new again. I love mixing vintage and modern together. For example, I paired this beautiful old painting with this modern black vase. I love the balance of old and new that makes it feel special and layered and very personal. And last but not least is a few fun touches to our main bath. These squirrels were so playful and fun, and I love this vase accents together with the glass pumpkin candle. But take note, watch the dangling leaf over the candle. While I was filming, it proceeded to melt off and then drop in the candle and catch fire. That really scared me, and it was a good reminder to just be careful during candle season. One last tip, consider leaving your main decor pieces neutral. A classic versatile base allows you to seamlessly add seasonal touches, giving your space a fresh look year-round with minimal effort. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, it would mean so much to me if you gave it a big like, and if you would comment below what your favorite tip was, or DIY, or maybe something you've made that you're proud of. I always love hearing back from you guys. On this channel, I share all kinds of home and garden projects. Oftentimes, I like to find a creative, budget-friendly way to get the look I love. If that's your style too, then feel free to subscribe and join me here. And if you're ready for more inspiration, check out my next video where I completely redid our backyard shed. I'm so proud of this one. I think you'll really enjoy it, and I hope it empowers you to go out and do something as well. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!